Hey everybody, JCron here, president of Kajabi, and I could not be more excited this morning to be joined by not only a good friend, but an incredible entrepreneur with a message for you that could not be more timely today. That's right, I'm talking about James Wedmore and the rise of the digital CEO and the path to building a business by design. We're going to be diving into all of this and more together this morning. James, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, we've go way, way back. So
Way
I
back.
couldn't be happier to be here chatting with you. I mean, being at Kajabi, we've seen so many different iterations of your business. And just to start and kind of orient everybody, maybe give everyone a little bit of an overview of, James Wedmore Inc. and kind of how we got to today and this idea of the rise of the digital CEO. In a world where everyone's talking about course creators, I'm excited to know the difference between that course creator and a digital CEO.
Yeah, it's so good. And we're all on a journey. Like when you and I met, I was the YouTube guy, right? So people knew me as a guy who was making digital products way back in 2011, just a long time ago in internet years. And you've been a lot.
Internet years are kind of like dog years. Like every year counts for anywhere from 7 to 10, depending on the trends.
It's so true. And part of the reason is, and I think we can get into this today, is because things move so fast, or at least there's this illusion that they move fast, right? So back then I was the YouTube guy, and I was making digital products. I had $1 million a year business. This was pre-Kajabi, or at least like the new Kajabi, right? So I was using like WordPress and stuff, and figuring out all the tech myself. But we had a $1 million a year business selling $97 courses on how to use YouTube. And what I started to notice was that there were a lot of people that were like following me and joining my list and paying attention to me that didn't really give a damn about YouTube and making videos. And I started to notice that the way in which we were running business was different than most. And that's what I really had to learn, was how to run a business. And so it's really exciting. It's a very exciting time that we're in. That back then when I was doing it, I'd never heard the term course creator. We didn't say that. We didn't call ourselves that or anything at all. And I'm like, and then you start hearing people talking about, I'm like, that's what we have. I guess that's me. But I think it's a really great place to start as a distinction between course creator and digital CEO, because, the moment you said, I want a business, right? And you know this, like the moment you said, I want to do this thing, we have to really understand what we're saying yes to, what it is that we're signing up for. And a business is its own entity. You are not your business. And a lot of entrepreneurs make that mistake of thinking they are their business. And so this entity, this organization has a series of roles. And these are just two roles: a course creator and the CEO, the founder, the creator, the visionary. I don't care. You don't have to use the word that I love to use, digital CEO. You can use any word that you want, but who's the visionary, the captain of that ship? And if you look at it, then if there's this series of roles, there's a role for customer support, there's a role for social media, there's a role for marketing and copywriting, and this isn't to overwhelm people. It's just to say that some of these roles exist the moment you say, I want a business. What is the role of a course creator? Well, it's to create a course. And today what we have are a lot of people that have created courses, and that's it. And they haven't created customers. They haven't created cash flow. They haven't created a business. They haven't created structure. They haven't created all these other things. And so if that's all we're focusing on, it's why can't I think of his name right now, but Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner.
If you build it, they will come.
If you build it, they will come. False. If you think about Amazon, I mean, I get stuff on Amazon all the time, right? It's like, what did I need? Oh, yesterday I needed a barbecue cover, right? So I go to Amazon and I search it. There it is. I'm like, all right, cheapest one. Great. Let's go. Right.
Well, I mean, and that's what's interesting about what you're describing and kind of teasing out some of the nuances for everybody watching. So the shift from thinking through the industry through the lens of I'm the YouTube guy or I'm a course creator, and making that shift to digital CEO, it sounds like that required both a mentality shift of how you
100%.
viewed the business, as well as a process shift. So it wasn't
100%.
just a mindset and it wasn't just a process. It was both. So tell me about each of those pieces. So like we have $1 million business, you're the YouTube guy, and then you're making a shift in both the mindset and the process. So which one came first and what did they look like?
Well, You know, the mindset always comes first, but I think you recognize the mindset shift after. So where this really hit bottom for me and changed was we were making good money. And there are people that like, okay, they figured out that it is more than just creating a course and hoping people will buy. There's other functions and roles in the business. And so there might be people out there that are making money, but what you see out there on stage is very different than what's happening behind the scenes. And I remember this is about 2014, 2013. We had the biggest non-launching month ever. $70,000 came in January of 2013 or 14. And then I get a call from my CPA and she congratulated on me and she goes, but your expenses were more than that. And I remember I got like tunnel vision. I just had that. You have no idea. Like I had this thought go into my mind. Like I literally went into survival mode. I'm like, this is it. This is the end. Done. I made $70,000 in 1 month and my expenses were like 75. I'm losing money and I couldn't figure it out. And so, you know, I've learned later in life that pain is a blessing. The problems that we see, most people, you know, we are in the business of solving problems, but you're going to deal with problems every single day. And most people are trying to avoid these problems. Most people think problems are bad. And I look back at that moment, that was a big problem. And it was the shift, the catalyst for everything on what we do today. Because I had to look at my business and say, it's do or die, baby. Like I'm either going to figure this out or this is the end. And I had to look at a lot of things.
But, you know, talking to a lot of the entrepreneurs out there that have maybe not been in the entrepreneurial space long, the struggle that you came up against is not by any means unusual. Like I know you and I both have been in this industry a long, long time, and we could list all of the people that had a great launch, thought all of that was income, didn't recognize it was all revenue. And then all of a sudden when the, you know, pay your affiliate bills and your hosting bills and your employees and everything else, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, I thought I made all that money. I just, you know.
And now I'm going to go spend it.
Totally. No, and that cash flow management, that business mindset, those are the systems that you don't appreciate until you don't have them. And then you realize that they're everything.
And if you look at whatever label you're giving yourself when you say I'm working today, whether it's CEO or course creator, it's like that label is the role that you are in, and the role that you're in determines what you're responsible for. And so I like to tell my students the role you fill or where you spend the majority of your time determines the results you'll receive. And so if you're just saying, you know, if you just look at yourself as a course creators aren't responsible for profit and expenses, you know, and you have to,
your title is you create courses. So if you create courses, you're fine.
Precisely. Right. And so, anyways, the short version of that story is that I had to look at where that money was going. Now, a lot of it was doing things like just throwing money at problems. Entrepreneurs do that all the time. They don't want to look at it. So they just throw whatever money they have at it. They turn a blind eye to it. I was hiring these ridiculously overpriced freelancers that I'd still have to go finish the job and say, you know, I got to do it myself kind of attitude. And so I remember taking a day off or 2 or 3 and really frustrated and just kind of in this panic mode. And my wife really calmed me down. And as the story goes, I was sitting there, and where it had really gotten to, I was just like, I don't understand. Like, we're hiring people and there's nothing left over for me, and I still have to do the work. Why can't they just follow directions? Why can't they just do it and do it efficiently and do it effectively? And I remember we had a Lego bus that I built with my wife. And I'm just like yelling and ranting around the room, all upset and all frustrated. And I point to that thing. I was like, look, we built that thing. That wasn't hard. We can do that. Like, why can't they build a landing page? Like I was just that so frustrated. And my wife just goes, well, you know, we had an instruction manual. And it's like, it's embarrassing to admit now, but like, that's how simple it was. And I was missing that. And so I kind of became the like mad scientist that was like, oh, I got it. And I like, you know, went into my laboratory and I think it took me like 2 weeks straight. And I said, I'm going to do a webinar and I'm going to make it like a Lego instruction manual. I said, okay, so what's the first step? Okay, first you got to log into here and then you got to click this button. And I like literally made it so foolproof that I could give this to like a 7-year-old. You know, and it's like, if you can read.
So the impetus for Business by Design, and for those of you that are watching this interview, Business by Design is that instruction manual that James is talking about, literally the paint by numbers, Legos approach to how to build a business in this industry and do so that it works early stage, mid stage, late stage, at scale, every stage it's going to apply. So James, would it be fair to say that Business by Design and all of the successes that have come out of it started with that Lego bus?
Yes, 100%. Because when I spent those 2 weeks creating that first process for how to create a webinar, I took it. And then we talk about this too. I started working years ago with a team that I love. They're in the Philippines and you know, virtually overseas. And I said, I hired a new one. And I said, we've never met before. It's the first task. And I handed them that. 2 days later, everything was done. Perfect. Not a single mistake, not a single issue. And I was like, this is what I was missing. So this is still answering that really great question. Like, what came first, like the structure and mindset? Well, really what happened was the mindset first, but I was kind of focused on, I'm missing this. So I put that in. And then I realized that it really was truly, and always is, the mindset has to change first. And what's really changed and what we really teach our students is why we use the term digital CEOs, because you got to really start thinking like that first, and to ask, what is my role? Where is my value best spent in this business? And asking those bigger questions. And, you know, today, how I look at my role is, you know, I am the creator of this business machine. So how can I put better systems and people in place so that it's a more effective and efficient and well-oiled machine? And what's tricky for us in our space is that for most of us, we're also the teacher, coach, and mentor of our content. So we kind of are the product as well. And, you know, so you're still kind of in those two different roles, switching back and forth. But if I'm not taking the time to think through this and shift that mindset, we just stay stuck in creating. And a lot of people are running from a fallacy that if I just create better content or put more content in my program or add more bonuses or improve my PDFs or redo my videos, that somehow more sales are going to come in. And I see that happening all the time. And they're like, I don't get it because I work so much and I put so much in this program. And it's like, well, yeah, but no one knows about it. You know, that's not going to change.
What I love about your journey, and I think it's something that's worth kind of teasing out, is you had this season where you're an entrepreneur who's ready to celebrate one of his biggest months of all time, only to find out your expenses were more than the revenue that month. And that's where I think a lot of the entrepreneurs in this space mistakenly confuse delegation and abdication, that it's not delegation in the sense of, I know what I need you to do and I'm instructing you effectively to do it, and now you're going to do the work. It's more abdication, which is just, well, I need these things and these people, so I'm just going to hire them and they're going to just do it. And really, it's a situation where I think that, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. And what you've really found in Business by Design is that even a top tier freelancer, absent an instruction manual for how you want done what you want done, they're set up to disappoint you. And they're set up to be a damaged relationship, a disappointed freelancer, a disappointed business owner, and not to mention the lost resources that you spent hiring the person. So it really is one of those where I think a lot of entrepreneurs today view this online world as almost like gambling, like it's a casino that always pays out. It's like, you know, if I just put a course out there, the slot machine always pays. And it's like, no, you don't understand that if you don't have a business plan, if you don't have the manual or the instructions for these people to do the work for you, you're not going to get the work, and you will have spent the money to not get the work, which is even more sad.
And you just put that in such a beautiful way. And I remember, I don't know if you ever read the Elon Musk biography from a couple of years ago, but when he started working with SpaceX, he learned rocket science. And I'm not saying we need to, you know, with tools like Kajabi, we don't need to learn programming. Okay. I had to learn that stuff. Like back in the day when I was creating digital products, I started in 2007, right? I had to learn HTML. I had to learn CSS. Like we were creating our own stuff. You don't have to do that today. So you don't need to learn how to do all that stuff underneath the hood, but we still need to understand, you know, the basics and yeah, it's like that abdication. Well, I've never heard it using that word. I've just always said, yeah, people turn a blind eye and they just throw money at it and say someone else can figure it out because I've thrown enough money at them. And that rarely works out well.
Well, and the thing that like I always cringe because I mean I know you and I both share probably more heart than most have in this industry for what it represents, who it serves, and the people that we get a chance to serve. It's one of the reasons why Kajabi is so passionate to tell the story of business by design, because we know the level of commitment you have to the people that choose the path you're recommending, and we feel the same way. I literally, my heart breaks when I see an entrepreneur that I'm asking them key business questions, and God forbid they're the questions about the marketing and selling and processes that power that. And they say, oh, I'm just going to outsource that. And I'm just like, oh, this is not going to end well for you. Like, it's just like, okay, great. Here's the deal. You are on the tracks. This is going to be a massive train crash. It's just going to happen really, really slowly. But if you are just thinking, you know, I'm just going to outsource that, that is a plan, but it's a plan that will not work unless by some stroke of luck, you find a freelancer that is that good and that honest and knows you that well and does the work. And that's where I love where BBD, Business by Design, comes in, because it gives the, I guess I would say, a really nice security blanket of, I want to begin looking at myself as the CEO. So right now, you know, if you think visually, I have 50 hats on at any given time. I'm the only person in my business. I'm the course creator. I'm the accountant. I'm the janitor. I'm the customer service rep. I'm the page designer. I'm the emailer. I'm the copywriter, all of these things. I think what Business by Design does is it takes you through that journey of, okay, I'm going to take one hat off and I'm going to hand it to this person. But I'm going to hand it to them with an instruction manual. And then as you hand hat off after hat off after hat off, before you know it, you're out of hats, you're the CEO, but at least you've been able to explore that leverage in an environment where there's some guardrails, there's, you know, some formulas, there's some proven techniques, that it's not, I'm on Upwork and hoping for the best, but it's, I've got a proven track record to follow. So like when you look at the people that have been the most successful in making that digital CEO transition with Business by Design, what are the common traits that you see in those students? Like what, when you look at the James Wedmore world of success, and you have countless testimonials of people that have applied this and built amazing businesses, what do you find is similar between those individuals?
Wow. Oh, that's a really great question, because, you know, a lot of people ask us like, oh, am I at the right level? Or then other people say, am I too advanced? And you know, this is what you spoke to with the hats and everything too, is what we say is, you know, the more structure that you put in your business, the more freedom you're going to get back. And I think you just beautifully communicated that through your analogy, because it is, we don't even know that we have all these hats when we say, you know, we want to start a business. So we've seen people get results at every level. I mean, I've had multiple 7-figure entrepreneurs come in, and they're coming in for the team and the structure piece. And then someone come in from day one, you know, like the scratch, you know, the newbie as they like to call themselves, and get their first product out there in 90 days. So what traits do they have in common? You know, I think the first thing, and I think this is missing a lot too, as we go on a journey, is, you know, people kind of come in thinking they know everything. And I come to be pretty much like a contrarian in ways that I want to be like the guy that takes your snow globe and turns it upside down, and shakes it up a little bit. And so the people that we've seen get results kind of surrender to this idea of like, if I don't have this thing I want, I don't know how to do it. You know, that's a really, really powerful but simple thing to look at. Is if you told me, James, I want to do $1 million next year. And I say, have you ever done $1 million? No. Then you have to admit you don't know how to do it. And a lot of people are,
you got to get to 1 before you can get to $1 million.
Exactly. And if you think you can use the same thinking and the same mindset and the same ways of being, the same strategies that got you to wherever you are, you got another thing coming to you, you know? And so what we've always seen at every level is those that are getting results start there, that I'm going to share stuff that is going to feel very counterintuitive, where you're going to be like, that doesn't make sense. I wouldn't do it that way. I know you wouldn't do it that way. That's why you don't have it. And so it always starts with like an openness, a surrender, and a coachability, you know? And then obviously the next thing is, you know, we have a lot of people right now, and I'm sure you notice this, that are what I call course shame. And it really saddens me. Course shame, you know, where people start to beat themselves up for all the programs they've purchased. And we've got to stop that, because I think one of the things that has allowed for me to get to where I am is I'm a voracious student. One of my highest core values is growth. And I know you're very similar, right? I mean, you know, I've watched you grow in many ways, and you're constantly learning. And I think we're students of life. We're students of business and marketing, of all the things that interest us. I mean, with my new Airbnb that I purchased out here as a side project, I've taken 4 courses on real estate, investment, and Airbnb. I have no shame in that. I love it. I feel like I'm Neo, plugged into the matrix, downloading something that took someone years, and I get to learn it in a day. Where people feel this shame isn't because you're buying courses. It's because when you're looking at it, you're not taking action on what you're learning. And so what we really wanted to do in Business by Design is solve that in a way where we almost like trap people. And that's what the execution guides do. Is if I give you an execution guide, like if I give you a Lego instruction manual, you can look through every page of that and nothing's going to happen until you start using it. And so the only way to get value out of the program is through action. And the only way to get results is through action. And so it just kind of inherently, by the nature of how we develop the program, you have to take action. If you're using, see, people, this is why I'm saying this, is because a lot of people are in the kind of like fool themselves into thinking that they're doing when they're sitting there watching a bunch of course videos. And we got to get straight with it. That's not you working. That's you preparing to work. That's you getting ready to work. But if all you're doing is sitting there watching course videos, that's great. You're learning. That's amazing. But don't kid yourself that you investing or just learning or watching a video is doing the work. And
you know, for everyone watching, I don't want you to miss what James is sharing, because this is a level of wisdom that you only gain after having put out a lot of courses and being just heartbroken at seeing people that either watch everything and take no action, or watch some of it and then say it doesn't work after having not taken any action. That the simplicity of having a course like Business by Design that basically is built, that the first step is, you've got the instruction manual, and that's great that you read it, but did you touch the Legos? Did you start trying to put some Legos together? Because that's where the magic happens. And it both ensures the success of James's program, which you've seen from many different businesses at many different stages, because if you're just starting out, you're going to know exactly where to start. If you're scaling up, you're going to know where to start. If you're empire building and acquiring a giant team, you're going to know how to leverage that. But it's all geared towards whatever stage you're at. This is the step you need to take. It's not just the consumption of information. It's really the execution of it that changes the game.
100%. So yeah. And so in one word, that's the one thing people have in common. They know that, they understand that, the successful entrepreneurs we've worked with, and they use that to say, this is what I'm taking action on, or they're taking these execution guides and these processes and they're handing them to their team, as you mentioned, and saying, here, this is due Friday. And they keep going.
So I know, James, a lot of people look at the business that you've now built, which is exponentially larger than going back to that $70,000 a month with $75,000 in expenses.
Crazy.
When you look at your journey, and whether it's related specifically to the Business by Design journey, or it's at any part in your entrepreneurial career, what would you say was the moment that you identify or remember as the biggest feeling of failure that then prompted the change? Would it have been that cash flow month of just like, how can that happen?
Yeah, that was it. That was the biggest low moment. You know, failure is a funny word, you know, but for me, that was the scariest and the darkest moment in time in my entire business career. Because what I spent 4 years really kind of struggling. You know, when I started in 2007, I didn't make all this money at once. It was like, oh, there's a little bit. It was a little, just breadcrumbs enough to keep going. But I was struggling during that time. And the fear,
we should have known each other then. We could have struggled together. 2007, I was bankrupt, post-mortgage business, bailout. I was going to Costco for the $1.50 hot dog lunches. And I mean, like, that was, living like a king at the moment.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was doing Subway because, $5 footlongs. I had $2.50 lunch and a $2.50 dinner. So, that was when I got started. And back then I was driven by a fear that, what if this doesn't work? And I think that's where a lot of people getting started out are. They're like, they don't make a decision. They don't choose a niche. They don't choose a course topic because I don't want to choose the wrong one. I don't want to waste time. What if this fails? And that's really driving a lot of our decisions. And, we need to change that into a little bit more faith in our ideas, faith in our vision. But then as soon as you make it, here's what's going to happen. that fear of what if this never works changes immediately in an instant to what if this doesn't last? All of a sudden you have everything that you wanted and you're afraid that it's going to get taken away. And so that was the darkest for me. I mean, that was scary because I was like, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I have something to lose. And I didn't like it, and that's why I said pain is a blessing, because it really forced me to look at it. And then today, I have a very different relationship with failure. And I think as entrepreneurs, we have to create a new relationship with failure. I even tell people, look, the word failure truly doesn't exist in reality. It's a label or interpretation we give to the unwanted results and outcomes in our life. If you say I have a goal and you create that goal, you say I want $100,000 and I'm going to go do this thing to go get that money, you're either going to get it or not, right? You're either going to get that 100 or more or not. And as soon as we don't get it, we say, well, it failed or I failed. It failed, so I'm a failure, right? And that's a choice, because we also have moments in our life where we looked back and we say, man, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Just like I'm saying that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Today, back then I saw it as a failure. I said, I failed my business. I failed everything in everything I was doing as a business owner. But today I look back and I say that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it created all of this. It was the catalyst for all of this. So to say something is a failure is our choice. It's our interpretation. And the tricky thing was when we do that, it's, we hide from ourselves the lesson that is available in those moments. And so I say all my students today, when you create that goal, you say, here's this thing I want, you go out there and go do it. You're either going to get one of two things. You're either going to get the results you wanted, or you'll get the lesson that you needed. And this changed everything for me. And if anyone listening, if this is an opportunity for you to reframe failure for you, that it is, you've heard like Napoleon Hill say it for 100 years. Why aren't we integrating this, that failure is the stepping stone to success? Because every mistake, every letdown, every missed goal is where we learn. And it's what we needed to learn. And it's because we didn't know that thing that we didn't get the goal. But if you don't learn it, you're doomed to repeat it. And people repeat it until they give up, because they're not learning the lesson. You learn the lesson, you apply the lesson, and you grow. And that's this, when I started just approaching business and life that way, things get really, messy and chaotic, but they get really accelerated. I just said, like, I'm just going to make more mistakes than more people. I don't care. I'm going to learn faster. And I'm going to mess it up. That whole, I think it's Silicon Valley, right? Like fail fast, fail forward, fail often. What a powerful way to show up in your business. But we're sitting there saying, yeah, but what if I choose the wrong niche? This is what I'm talking about. What if I choose the wrong course topic? That's what I'm talking about. It's contrast creates clarity. So you won't know what the right niche is sitting there on the sidelines in indecision for 6 months, hesitating, waiting for some neon sign to come and tell you. That's never going to happen, because taking that first step, or whatever that next step is for you, gives you the clarity on what the next step is and the next step. And we got to just keep going and give ourselves permission to make mistakes, to make it messy, and to fail along the way. Because it truly is, failure is a stepping stone to success.
So what I love about that is, like you said, we have giant industries like Silicon Valley, the seat of innovation and software, telling you to fail fast, fail forward, fail often. And yet we have an industry where most people never even give themselves the opportunity to fail, because they just don't ever start. That, they build the course that nobody sees. They build the page that they never publish. They build the ads that they never run. It definitely is a unique industry. And I know that Business by Design is really built to give people that confidence of what the next step is to take, and to take it. So now when you look at Business by Design, which is available right now, it's only available once a year, right?
Yeah, 4 days for once a year. Yeah.
So it's a very limited opportunity. And when you look at Business by Design, is this now the third enrollment class for Business by Design, third year?
Fourth year.
Fourth year.
Yeah.
So after 4 years, 4 classes, and 4 opportunities to continue to refine this catalyst for impact for businesses, who would you say Business by Design is perfect for? And who would you say it's probably not the right fit for?
Well, the first thing I'll say is, we have a lot of other types of businesses that are coming in and asking, like, is this good for e-com or software or local brick and mortar? And I say no, because I don't want to teach from something that I don't have my own experience from. And so the first thing I say is, anybody that has or wants to have digital products, this is for you. And then of course, then people say, well, at what level? Right. And it's really interesting how we've created the program that it becomes, and it's hard for people to believe that it becomes applicable to somebody who's just starting out versus, like I said, someone who's already at a 7 or multiple 7-figure level. And it's because at any and every level, you can use this structure, whether it's how to deploy a survey, to creating your first landing page, to your first funnel, to doing your first webinar. If you've done that 10 times yourself, the value you're going to find in having a complete map and step-by-step instruction manual that you can now hand off to somebody, like, you can't even put a price on that, right? Because how many hours did you just get back? How much peace of mind did you just get? Versus somebody who's just getting started, who's maybe taken a few courses and they're like, I've learned a lot of things, but now I've just learned about all the things I didn't know I need to do that I now have to do. And then to say, oh, here it is in a step-by-step manner, that, yeah, James can teach me how to hire my first VA to help me. Or even if I'm not ready to do that, I have it in a step-by-step manner. It's like a foolproof way. Like, a lot of people get frustrated because, oh, there's pieces missing. Someone has skipped the steps, or, I got these 2 pieces, but I feel like there's a big gap here. And so we're like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to have any gaps. And so it's people at every level have found value in it. I would just say, if you don't want to be creating and selling digital products, don't join. If you're like, I kind of maybe dabble, my community knows I hate the word dabble, because dabble is like the opposite of commitment. And it really took a commitment from me to make this happen. And commitment is really doing whatever it takes, no matter what. And dabble is conditional commitment. That's like, well, I'll keep going if it works, if I see success. It doesn't work that way. You got to go all in. You got to put all your chips on the table and say, I'm in. This is what I want to do with my life. And those are the type of people I love to work with. So I say, it doesn't matter what level you're at in your business. It matters what level of commitment you're at. And I don't want the opportunity seekers. I don't want the, overnight people. And this is why, like, I know with Kajabi, we love supporting you guys. We use Kajabi. I want to make sure everyone here knows that. I was probably one of the first people on the new Kajabi.
You absolutely were.
Because I was like fighting tooth and nail to get in before you released it. And I was a big pain in the butt about it. And we loved it. it just changed everything for us. And we hear people say things like, yeah, but Kajabi's, too expensive. And, sadly, they're comparing it against, like, 7 tools that are cheaper individually that adds up to more. Mm-hmm. But what it does is, when you invest in a program or a software experience like Kajabi, the only people that are going to do that are the people that are serious about this. It's like, well, I don't know if I'm serious, so I'll just find some free, janky solution. It's like, yeah, those aren't serious and committed people. So that the people that join Kajabi are like, I'm in it. I'm doing, because of course I'm going to pay this, because I already know I'm going to do so much more. And those are the type of people I love working with. I'm sure everyone listening, you want your students to show up that way for you as well. So I hope that answers that question.
No, it definitely does. And what I love about the way that you describe Business by Design, for everybody right now that's watching this, considering it, it gives you the opportunity to decide exactly what role that you want to play. That if you decide, I'm going to begin the path to the digital CEO, but I want to keep all of the hats as I learn what those roles are, you're going to see Business by Design walk you through what each of those roles represent, the responsibilities that those roles are accountable for, and the methods, the recipes, and everything that is going to be a follow-along process for that role to be successful. So you're going, even if you're a solo operator and you're switching hats Monday through Friday, you're going to have the formulas for that. Or you also heard James touch on, if you're at a place in your business where you're really interested in beginning to look at, how do I outsource effectively? How do I hire VAs? How do I bring in resources that have different areas of competence than me, but do so in a way that I've got a foundation, I've got guardrails, I know this person is going to be set up for success. Business by Design has those templates, has those processes, so that you can begin expanding your team and bringing in those competencies, but doing so with the certainty that you're doing it the right way and you've got them set up for success. Yeah. So it really is something that no matter where you are in your business, this is going to give you an opportunity to really dive deep into those processes that work at 6, 7, 8 figures annually and beyond. But make no mistake, what James said is very, very important. This is only for those people that are prepared to take action and implement it. Because if you're expecting something that our friend Mel Abraham, who I know is a friend of yours as well, Mel talks a lot about this idea of just-in-time education versus just-in-case education. And I think a lot of people watching this can relate to that just-in-case education trap, where you're taking courses on everything under the sun, just in case your business needs it. Versus something like Business by Design, which is going to give you the freedom of just-in-time education, which is you're going to learn what you need to do first, then second, then third, then fourth, and so on. But you're not going to need to learn 100 things to take step one. And that's really what makes this different. And, you know, we're very proud to be sharing this with you. It's something that we've watched James now go through 4 years of iterating on this process. The success stories that have come out of this have been unbelievable. Seeing people launch their first course, seeing people grow to launch high-level mastermind groups, seeing people build digital businesses that can be run from anywhere with a laptop. And, you know, James, who right now is in his fortress of solitude, which I will not share where, which is his other fortress of solitude, which is on the coast here in Southern California. Yeah. There's a lot of times where I've tried to catch him and he's surfing. And the reason for that is because he has a business that runs on these type of processes. And if you're prepared to take your business to that next level, Business by Design can be those processes that take you to that path. So James, I really appreciate you spending some time with us today and talking about this rise of the digital CEO, because for those of you watching, we're talking about this during this COVID-19 pandemic, the time where offices are closed, businesses are shuttering. It has never been more important that you have the ability to drive results from wherever you are. And being a digital CEO allows you to do that. So James, 100%. When you look at, in kind of a closing thought, what would you say to the audience today that is on the fence? You know, maybe they've taken a couple of courses and they haven't yet implemented it. Yeah. Maybe they've got a course built and they've got, you know, it living in Kajabi and they just haven't shipped it yet. For the people that are watching right now that need to hear from you as far as what would be your recommended next step, what would it be?
Yeah, you know, I think there's a couple of things. Obviously, first, I'm a really big person on something that I don't think anyone's really talking enough about, which is vision, and starting to create a vision and live from the vision for your life, the vision for your business. And to start there and to say, is this something that I truly want to do, or am I just trying to make money quick or anything? Because I don't do that. There's a better way for you. And so clarifying that vision and getting really honest with yourself and what do I want? Is this what I want to do? And then if it is, all businesses need, you know, structure. I think it was Michael Gerber and E-Myth talking about a people-dependent business versus a systems-dependent business, right? And uses like case studies and examples like McDonald's. So we all need these processes and systems in place. And the thing is if your business needs it, right? So you create your goals, which is what do I want? That's your vision. But the moment you create that vision, we never stop and say, what does my vision need from me? And this is one of the things it needs. And so you can, it's your choice. You can go and spend weeks and months going into that role and creating all that structure and all these processes. It sucks. If you imagine whoever's job it is to create a Lego instruction manual and just do step by step for 1,000 pages, that's not a very glorious, fun job. We were willing to do it. My team and I, we all build processes. So like if we're doing something really cool in the business, I'm like, wow, can you processize that? That's our new word, right? Like, yep. And then we create it, put it in there. So it's there. And so that's really the question. If someone is on the fence, it's not a matter of, should I have processes and structure in my business? No, am I going to do these myself, or am I going to pay somebody who's done it for me? And that should be the decision for anybody, because we're really passionate about it. We're really adamant because we got to start learning. There's just so many entrepreneurs coming in the marketplace now, but even before this time, you guys got to learn how to run a business. I didn't know. I just thought if I took really great pictures and videos of me and maybe learned some like headline copy or something that I had a business. No. And so we got to learn if you want to stay in business, because you and I both also seen a lot of people come and go, 15-minute fame, one hit wonder kind of people. And I'm if people want to know my secret, it's because I've learned how to run a business, and it takes discipline. It takes structure. It takes doing some things that are boring. And most people aren't willing to do those. So if you got a big message and you want to get out in a big way, we got to learn this stuff.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Business by Design is not only as cool as all of the opportunities you have to really catapult your learning by benefiting from a digital course experience, an instructional level that is going to massively ramp up your understanding and your wisdom in this business, but it also has all of the processes and templates that make that wisdom applicable. So it's unique in the sense that unlike a lot of the other courses you have taken, which are probably amazing courses, the majority of Business by Design is not meant to be a course. It is meant to be a catalyst for action. It is meant to be the recipe book that you're putting in place every single day. So the only way that you will not achieve progress is if you didn't follow the recipe and you didn't take action. It's very, very unique in our industry because there are lots of opportunities to learn, but there are not nearly as many opportunities to have someone alongside you in template format forcing you to implement. It's a very exciting opportunity, certainly something that we hope you choose to take advantage of it. We know that your business is going to benefit from it. And it's one of the reasons we're so excited to share it is we, with James, are very aligned on our core values that this business shouldn't be as complicated as you're making it. James has given you all of the playbooks needed to implement and drive results in your business. And we believe Kajabi is the perfect partner and the software foundation for you to execute those playbooks on. So we've been very excited to share this time together. If you're watching this, Kajabi is the platform for you to use. Business by Design are the playbooks for you to implement. And trust me when I tell you, you'll be looking back on this a month, a year from now, however long your implementation cycle is. You will be very, very glad you did. James, thanks so much for spending some time with us this morning and sharing with us everything that Business by Design is doing in the community. So cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, JCron. I appreciate it so much.
Our pleasure. We'll see you soon, everybody. Take care.